Another day of cleanup after another night of protests, looting, and violence. A vicious cycle with no end in sight. The police presence growing and new calls for the president to do something to calm the country. The president's latest move designating Antifa as a terrorist organization. This follows a weekend of tweets some worry have inflamed things more.
And that's not helpful. It's not lowering the temperature. It's sort of continuing to escalate the rhetoric.
What remains is a clear divide on what's at the center of the anger. First and foremost, the death of an unarmed black man, George Floyd, at the hands of a white police officer, who we now know had at least 17 misconduct complaints filed against him previously, yet he still had a job. It's part of a system many on the streets have decried.
Hands up, don't shoot! I want to be able, when a cop is driving behind me, I don't have to clench and be tense.
A different take from the White House National Security Advisor.
No, I don't think there's systemic racism. I think 99.9% of our law enforcement officers are great Americans.
Among the other major world events going on right now, we are in the midst of a presidential election, and both candidates have made clear they understand this issue is front and center, on top of the 40 million Americans out of work and the global pandemic.
The death of George Floyd on the streets of Minneapolis was a grave tragedy.
Imagine having police called on you just for sitting in Starbucks or renting an Airbnb or watching birds.
Scenes like this one playing out in Michigan Saturday night of a sheriff walking with protesters, offering a sign of hope, but one that sits in the shadow of fears of continued chaos in our cities. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
Today, demonstrators gathered on the statehouse steps here in Boise.
This can't be right, and we cannot allow it any longer. We're here to voice our opinions. Yes, let's be peaceful. What we know should be the right way to live.
Hundreds gathered here at the State House earlier today for a peaceful protest against the killing of George Floyd. Many different ethnicities and backgrounds are represented here today. They're all gathered here for one mission. I'm here because I am a young black woman living in America, and my people aren't getting the justice that they deserve. So it's time that we speak out and that we get the justice that we deserve and that we are treated equal like all of our white our white folks in Idaho too, and all across America. We need our voices to be heard. People all across the country have been speaking out after a video was released of George Floyd being handcuffed and pinned to the ground by a white police officer. He was pronounced dead later in police custody.
I'm sick of my people getting killed because of our skin color and not who we are as people. I'm tired of it. It hurts watching this on Instagram, on the news. I'm sick of cops killing us for no reason.
There have been demonstrations and riots all across America, many that have been extremely violent. But here in Boise, protesters say they hope that this demonstration can show that peaceful protests can be powerful and impactful.
To see so many people out here of different races and nationalities with the same peaceful message, it really shows how Idaho is evolving into an even better city.
Tonight, a top cop with Meridian Police is weighing in on the Minneapolis incident. CBS 2's Trevor Fay uncovers more about police protocol.
Meridian Police Deputy Chief Tracy Bastarachea took to Facebook to post about George Floyd's death and why he disagrees with how Minneapolis officers handled Monday's situation in the Twin Cities.
Yes, those officers will be held accountable, but it's not going to bring back George Floyd. Nothing we can do can change that. The only thing we can do is be better moving forward.
It's difficult for Deputy Chief Bastarachea to see something like this happen involving a member of his profession. He says the actions taken against Floyd go against everything he was taught as a police officer.
Every time there's a national event and it gives law enforcement a black eye, it literally gives the entire profession a black eye.
Bastarachea says he's worried about other officers possibly taking abuse for the actions of those in Minneapolis. The police have a difficult job, and while he's not making any excuses for the bad apples in his profession, he does have a message for the Floyd family.
Our prayers go out to the Floyd family. They've lost a father, a son, a brother, a community member, and it's sad.
The deputy chief tells me that the police's power comes from the people. When they lose the trust of the people, they lose their ability to enforce the law. In Meridian, Trevor Fay, CBS 2 News.